American Beauty. American Beauty is a 1999 drama film directed by Sam Mendes and starring Kevin Spacey, Annette Bening, Thora Birch, Wes Bentley, Mina Suvari, and Chris Cooper. The plot follows the Benhams, a dysfunctional family consisting of Lester, his wife Carolyn, and their teenage daughter Jane, who interact with other characters, including their neighbors, the Fitz family. The film is described by critics as a satire that explores themes of self-satisfaction, parental love, sexuality, beauty, materialism, self-liberation, and redemption. It also addresses the importance placed by modern Western societies on appearance and economic success, and how these factors undermine interpersonal relationships, distorting them and sometimes creating a need to escape. Plot. The film opens with a video camera image of a girl lying in bed. She complains about her father, saying he's boring and embarrassing. A young man's voiceover, presumably the one operating the camera, asks, "Do you want me to kill him?" She thinks for a moment and says with a satisfied smile, "Yes. Would you?" The film opens with Lester Burnham, a Chicago advertising executive and family man. Lester begins to narrate, but the Lester on screen isn't speaking. "In less than a year, I'll be dead. Of course, I don't know that yet. And in a way, I'm already dead." We soon realize why. His life isn't the best. His wife, Carolyn, is an ambitious real estate agent who cares only about professional success. "My company sells an image, and it's part of my job to live that image," Carolyn says. His daughter, Jane, the girl with the camera at the beginning of the film, is an apathetic young woman who complains about her father's lack of support and is considering getting a breast lift to make them even. Lester comments on her. Jane is an angry, insecure, and confused girl. "I'd like to tell her it will pass, but I don't want to lie to her." Jane and Lester haven't spoken for months. Lester describes himself as a loser, boring, someone easily forgotten. "I've lost something, but it's never too late to get it back." And perhaps that's what his family hates. For Carolyn, he's a loser who hasn't climbed the ladder in his company despite working for so many years. He lacks ambition. For Jane, he's a weak father who lets himself be manipulated by his mother, which is why she has no respect or obedience for him, and that's why she spends her time talking badly about him. We see a typical day in the life of each of the three characters. Lester begins his day by masturbating in the shower. He says, "This is going to be the best moment of the day. It's all going to be downhill from here." Later, he's seen at work, where his boss, Brad Dupree, asks him to write a report describing his job and responsibilities, detailing exactly what his contribution to the company is. Dupree is trying to identify which employees can be let go so the company can save money. It's clear that Brad is a complete incompetent, and only God knows why he's in that position of power. Carolyn, meanwhile, tries to sell a house to several couples, but only encounters rejection after rejection. Lester finds the inspiration to transform himself when he meets Angela Hayes, his daughter Jane's best friend and classmate. Angela is a beautiful, confident, and supposedly promiscuous cheerleader who aspires to be a model, and who thinks that there's nothing worse in life than being ordinary. Angela captivates Lester from the moment he sees her in a routine dance performance at school and develops an obsession with her, much to Jane's embarrassment. These scenes are the most iconic of the film, seeing Lester mesmerized by Angela dancing at school in her cheerleader outfit, then imagining that she is dancing alone without any other girl, and in the stands he is the only one. Now the dance is for him, with all the charm, the youth, the virtue and the sensuality of Angela, only for him. Until at a certain moment Angela opens her neckline and many red rose petals come out of her chest. This type of scene repeats itself when Lester goes to sleep. He thinks about Angela again and masturbates, imagining her completely naked, her skin extremely white, lying in a very large room with a white floor, but covered once more with red rose petals. It all leads him to a dreamlike state, to reach ecstasy in his mind and body. Until his wife discovers him, realizes what he's doing, and gets angry. Lester is also angry at her for interrupting him. You realize they're not a good couple. How many of us haven't known girls like Angela? From high school, they learn to lie as easily as they breathe. How many of us have they made up stories about, for better or for worse? Or how many stories have they invented about themselves, all to become the queen bee or simply to get noticed? Here we can apply the rule. On the other hand, beware of those who tell you they've only had one relationship because only God knows the number, they've already lost count. But Angela has something special, she's beautiful, and you can't blame yourself for wanting to be with her, whether you're a naive and introverted teenager or a dirty old man who gets a new lease on life just by seeing her, even in that body worn down by the years. That same night, Jane sees a young man filming her with his video camera through her bedroom window. Jane, unaccustomed to this kind of attention, feels flattered. Later, when Jane invites Angela to stay over, Lester overhears Angela telling Jane that she finds her father attractive and that she would totally make love to him if he would just start working out. Upon hearing this, Lester immediately heads to his garage, where he finds weights and begins lifting them. Meanwhile, a family consisting of the extremely homophobic and austere U.S. Marine Corps Colonel Frank Fitz, an emotionless man possibly suffering from depression, his wife Barbara, and their curious and introspective son Ricky, move into the house next door to the Benhams. Jane begins to notice that Ricky, unbeknownst to his father, is making money as a marijuana dealer. But let's return to Carolyn. She meets a successful salesman, the kind whose face is plastered all over park benches and buses. Of course, the ambitious saleswoman feels her knees buckle when he speaks to her, and he's also kind and charming, so Carolyn can't help but feel more than excited by this rush of emotions, as if she were Jane, her daughter, a teenager. Some time later, Carolyn begins an extramarital affair with a rival real estate agent, and, also influenced by him, decides to relieve her stress at a shooting range. Well, she got rid of most of the remaining stress when she climbed on top of the salesman and started howling like a wolf in the mountains when she rode in motels where they made the beds shake as if there was a high-intensity earthquake. Carolyn sure knew how to release stress in those places. But anyway, after that she would go to shooting practice, you know, to relax. Lester quits his job, blackmailing his boss with his severance pay. For the first time in years, he rebels and threatens Brad. He's had enough and decides that Brad will be the one fired, but with a generous severance package. Lester threatens to expose Brad's shady dealings within the company. Since he's never been outspoken before, Brad doesn't fall for it at first and acts like the lunatic he is. But Lester doesn't change his approach and remains firm and confident in his actions, until Brad realizes this is a win-or-die situation for Lester. And so, Lester wins. Lester starts working at a new fast food restaurant. It's a bit comical to see Lester begging for a fry-up job, since he was overqualified for the position. At this job, he discovers his wife's infidelity. She and her lover went to order burgers at the drive-thru. She cynically tells her stud that they need to replenish their calories after so much exercise. Carolyn is shocked, while Lester confidently serves the burgers, defending his coworker when Carolyn tries to insult her. Lester has never been happier. Who would have thought he'd find that kind of happiness frying burgers at a burger joint? Ricky shows Jane a video of a plastic bag dancing in the air, which Ricky considers the most beautiful thing he's ever filmed. Later, Lester comes to their house for dinner with his family, and for the first time in a long time, he asserts his authority over Jane and Carolyn, forcing them to eat with him. During a heated argument at dinner, Lester finally asserts his dominance over Carolyn in the home. On his last day alive, Lester calmly confronts his wife about her extramarital affair, leading to the end of their marriage. Carolyn listens to a self-help tape that convinces her to refuse to be a victim. She drives bitterly home with her gun, intending to confront her husband, believing he has ruined her life. Lester calls Ricky over to get some marijuana, further fueling the suspicions of Colonel Fitz, who is convinced his son is gay and having an affair with Lester. Wow, I can say that there is no greater lack of respect than judging others. If you think someone is a criminal, then automatically they are. If you think someone can't perform a job just because you can't see them doing it, then automatically they are incapable of doing those tasks. And if you think someone is homosexual, then automatically they are, because that's what you think. Later, the colonel forces Ricky to leave home after violently beating him. When Ricky and Jane plan to escape to New York, Angela, who who is visiting them, accuses them of being weird, to which Ricky retorts that she's ugly, ordinary, and knows it. While Ricky talks to his mother, telling her he has no choice but to leave, says goodbye, and asks her to take care of his father, Angela bursts into tears on the stairs, and Lester comes to comfort her. Ricky's words were cruel, but they were true, and that hurts. But there are no bad guys here, neither Ricky nor Angela, just different people. But earlier, while he was exercising, he lifts his garage door to an emotionally broken Colonel Fitz, who arrives at his house soaked from the rain. The Colonel hugs him tightly and then tries to kiss him, revealing his sexual orientation and being rejected by Lester. Returning to the scene with Angela and Lester, they have their sexual moment. Finally, the old man had broken through the defenses of the beautiful but very young Angela. This was his moment of glory. Life was finally rewarding him for all the blows he had dealt it, an inept boss, a wife who didn't appreciate him, and a daughter who didn't respect him. Lester and Angela kiss, and Lester, despite what you might think, was a man, an experienced one at that, so he takes the initiative. But everything falls apart when she reveals that it is, in fact, her first time. Lester can't take her virginity and, paternally, instead makes her a sandwich in the kitchen. For the first time in a while, Lester realizes he is truly happy. Lester shows himself to be a real man twice over, understanding a confused neighbor and being kind to a vulnerable young woman. Someone experienced, as I said. When Angela goes to the bathroom, Lester looks at a photo of his smiling family, unaware that a gun is pressed against the back of his neck. A shot rings out, and the camera, focusing on the wall, shows a sudden bloodstain appearing on it. The film ends with a description of Lester's life and images flashing before his eyes, interspersed with scenes of his family and others up to the moment of the shooting. The reactions of Ricky, Angela, and Jane to the gunshot. Ricky observes that Lester died happy, Carolyn weeping as she enters the house, regretting having wished for her husband's death, and Colonel Fitz returning home with his clothes covered in blood and a gun in his hand. Looking back on these events from the narrator's point of view, Lester is content. I suppose I could be pretty angry about what happened to me, but it's hard to stay angry when there's so much beauty in the world. Sometimes I feel like I'm taking it all in at once, and it overwhelms me. My heart swells like a balloon about to burst, but then I remember to relax and not hold on too tightly, and then it flows through me like rain, and I feel nothing but gratitude for every moment of my stupid, insignificant life. You probably have no idea what I'm talking about, but don't worry, someday you will. And Lester is right, someday we will all understand these words. Comments. Critical reaction to American Beauty was overwhelmingly positive, beginning 3 months before the film's release, when New York Times writer Bernard Wainwright penned a raving column about the film, describing it as the most talked about thing in movies right now. The column, which came out the 4th of July weekend, gave few details about the film but noted that it was generating tremendous buzz at DreamWorks. Details of how and when the film would be released were still being debated. It also reported that Steven Spielberg, co-founder of DreamWorks, said the film was one of the best he had seen in years and that Benning had made him cry during one of his early screenings. The film premiered on September 8, 1999, in Los Angeles, California, and early reviews were uniformly reaffirmed, praising the cast, screenplay, cinematography, and direction of Mendes's debut feature. Writing for the San Francisco Chronicle, Edward Guthman called it a dazzling tale of loneliness, desire, and the emptiness of conformity. Jay Carr of the Boston Globe called it a millennium classic, and the New York Post called it a full-throttle masterpiece. Among the few critics who expressed negative opinions of the film were Jay Hoberman of the Village Voice and Wesley Morris of the San Francisco Examiner, who were critical of the screenplay and direction, but not the performances. Ultimately, the best review is yours, but I'll leave all this here hoping you liked it. That's all from me, goodbye.